Day 3 of our trip starts with sights around and in Alameda Park and continues in the afternoon to the main square of Mexico City, the Zócalo. Our hotel is here, on the street called República del Salvador. We'll start our walking tour by going here to the Latin American Tower. This is the Latin American Tower, La Torre Latinoamericana, one of Mexico City's most recognized landmarks. With 44 stories, it survived the 1985 earthquake without damage. Construction began in 1948, and it was Mexico City's tallest building from 1956 until 1984. At the time of its completion, the Latin American Tower was the 45th tallest building in the world and the tallest building in Latin America. Its observation deck on the 44th floor is the highest in Mexico City. This is a view of the Zócalo, the main square. We will visit this later this afternoon. This is a view of the Palace of Fine Arts from the observation deck. Here are the observation deck and a view of the city. Unfortunately, the smog prevents us from seeing far into the distance. After our bird's eye view from the Latin American Tower, we go to the nearby Palace of Fine Arts here. It is located on the west side of Alameda Park. The first stone of the building was placed by the dictator Porfirio Diaz in 1904, but complications arising from the soft subsoil and from the Mexican Revolution stopped construction by 1913. Construction began again in 1932 and was completed in 1934. The building has already sunk into the ground about 14 feet. This is Porfirio Diaz, the dictator of Mexico, who started the building of the palace. The main facade is made of white Italian Carrara marble, and the interior is also surfaced in Carrara marble. In front of the building, there are 4 Pegasus sculptures, which had been in the main square before being brought here. El Palacio de Bellas Artes means, of course, the Palace of Fine Arts. This is a building lit up at night. Here you see the dome inside, and on the right, one of the Pegasus figures outside. One of the highlights of the palace is the glass curtain in the main theater, built by Tiffany of New York. This stage curtain is a stained glass foldable panel representing the landscape of the Valley of Mexico, with its 2 great volcanoes, Popocatépetl and Iztaccíhuatl. The curtain weighs 24 tons. The palace is well known for its many exhibitions and theatrical performances, including the Ballet Folclórico de México, which performs here regularly. We will see a performance of the Ballet Folclórico tomorrow evening. The next 2 pages show more scenes. We then cross the street to our next destination, Alameda Park. Alameda Central Park, seen on the right, began as an Aztec marketplace in the capital city, Tenochtitlan, founded around 1345. By the mid-1500s, under the conquistadors, it was used to burn heretics at the stake under the Spanish Inquisition. In 1592, the governor of New Spain, which is what Mexico was called at the time, converted the Alameda into a public park. The marshy lands were drained and planted with trees. The park became a popular meeting place for Spanish high society and was a site of duels, courting, and lively conversation. However, surrounded by a wrought iron fence, the park still remained off-limits to the general populace. In 1821, people gathered here for a great celebration when the independence of Mexico was officially announced. In 1867, a banquet was held here when the people welcomed the triumphant return of the President Benito Juárez. Many statues here were sculpted by French and Italian sculptors. As modern Mexico City's largest central park, the Alameda is a downtown oasis of green. The park surrounded by colonial mansions, cafes, restaurants, retail shops, skyscrapers, and museums. In 2012, the park was refurbished, adding fountains on the corners, more lights to illuminate the park, cleaning the statues and fountains, and planting more trees. Statuary and fountains embellish the landscape of the park. Here is a Neptune fountain. Among the statues is the one on the left, a statue of the great German geographer Alexander von Humboldt. The Juarez Monument was built in 1910 by order of Porfirio Diaz, the same dictator who commissioned the Palace of Fine Arts. This monument is made of Carrara marble. It took 45 days to build. In the middle it says, Al Benemérito Benito Juárez, La Patria. To the distinguished Benito Juárez, the motherland. Juárez went from a poor native Indian to president and was a contemporary of Lincoln. He was a president of reform, taking power away from the Catholic Church. And this is Benito Juárez. The Beethoven Monument was donated by the German community in Mexico City in 1921 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of his Ninth Symphony. It consists of 2 sculpted figures in black bronze, a being trying to climb out of the abyss, and a winged angel who will take the lesser creature to the heavens. Ludwig van Beethoven's death mask is under the 2 figures on the pedestal of the monument. There is an abundance of new sculptures throughout the park as well. These next few pages show you just some of them. After spending time in the park, we cross the street for 2 sites. The first one, the Plaza de la Solidaridad, was built where the Hotel Regis had been, destroyed by the 1985 earthquake. It was built to commemorate the victims who died here. In the center of the square is a statue in memory of the victims of the 1985 quake, giving the square its name. The second one is the Museo Mural Diego Rivera. This small museum is built primarily to house one of Rivera's most famous murals, Dream of a Sunday Afternoon in Alameda Central Park, painted from 1946 through 47. The mural was originally in the Del Prado Hotel across the street from where the painting is now. After the earthquake of 1985, the hotel suffered irreparable damage and the painting was removed to its own museum. The mural used to have the words, Dios no existe, which means God doesn't exist, but it was kept covered until Rivera painted the words out. There are many notable figures from Mexican history in the mural. One panel that attracts a lot of attention shows Rivera himself as a boy with his wife Frida Kahlo standing behind him. Then there is the elegantly dressed skeleton, La Catrina, an image used to mock the upper class. And this is the famous muralist Diego Rivera himself. We'll be seeing a lot of his murals later today in the National Palace. Our next stop will be a little walking to the Monument to the Revolution. The Monument to the Revolution is considered the tallest triumphal arch in the world. The building was originally commissioned by Porfirio Diaz as a central government complex. In 1910, when revolution broke out, Diaz was forced into exile, so the wings of the building were torn down and the dome was redesigned as this monument. It was completed in 1938 during the presidency of Lázaro Cárdenas. This is Lázaro Cárdenas, under whom the monument was completed. The structure functions as a mausoleum for some heroes of the Mexican Revolution of 1910, such as the revolutionary leaders on the next 2 pages. This is the monument lit up at night. Underneath the monument, the Museum of the Revolution tells the history of the Revolution through archived pictures, old newspapers, films, and life-size tableaux. Part of the museum is devoted to the construction of the monument itself. Other sections cover the Porfirio Diaz dictatorship, the various stages of the revolution, and how it broke down into civil war, resulting in the emergence of a new constitution and republic. After this monument, there is one more stop before we have lunch. We head back the way we came to see the Church of San Francisco, after which we'll cross the street to eat here at the famous House of Tiles. Located across from the House of Tiles, this area was the site of Montezuma's zoo and flower gardens. The Church of San Francisco was founded by Cortez in 1524, and he attended Mass here. It has sunk so much that the entrance is now at cellar, not street level. This was the first Franciscan center in the Western Hemisphere. It used to be a huge complex of churches, libraries, convents, and gardens before church property was limited to the church building itself under the Reform laws. The first printing press in the New World was housed here. The first school for Indians was here. The present building was built from 1710 to 1716. There are several large paintings high up on the walls. The House of Tiles was built by the Counts of Orizaba in 1596, covered with blue and white tiles 150 years later. Legend is that a father told his son that he would never amount to anything. His son proved him wrong, gained personal wealth, and covered the mansion with tiles symbolically. It is the main store and office building for the Sanborns chain in Mexico, starting in 1903. It has a magnificent courtyard with hand-carved pillars, frescoes, and a fountain. We will have lunch here before continuing with our day. I suggest the enchilada suiza, the Swiss enchilada, a specialty of the house, and of course tortilla soup, why not? On the staircase landing is a mural by Orozco, painted in 1924, titled Omniscience. And this is the artist, Jose Clemente Orozco. Day 3 of our trip continues after lunch with a walk to the Zócalo. On the way to the Zócalo, we'll pass a building of interest, the Palacio de Iturbide. Built in the 18th century, it was occupied by Agustín de Iturbide from 1821 to 23. He was the first ruler of an independent Mexico, and while living here was proclaimed Emperor Agustín I. His Plan de Iguala gave 3 guarantees: the independence of Mexico, religious freedom, and citizenship to all in Mexico with equal rights. Located at Madero 17, it is now the offices of a bank. The facade is Baroque. And this is a painting of Agustín de Iturbide, the first ruler of an independent Mexico. The Zócalo is one of the biggest squares in the world, after Beijing's Tiananmen Square and Moscow's Red Square. Zócalo means base of a statue or monument. A monument to independence was planned here by Santa Anna, but only the base was done. People began referring to the area as the base. Now most main squares in Mexico are called Zócalos. On its east side is the National Palace, on the north is the cathedral, and on the south are city government offices. Jewelry shops and extravagant hotels line the plaza's west side. The huge Mexican flag flying in the middle of the Zócalo is ceremonially raised at 8 a.m. by soldiers of the Mexican army and then lowered at 6 p.m. When Cortez and his men entered Tenochtitlan, they saw the great temple and 78 lesser buildings surrounding this area, mostly for priests' lodgings and meditation chambers, etc. Canals filled with water ran between the houses and served as a means of transportation and communication. Spaniards made sketches of what they saw here, which is how we know what it looked like. Cortez had the temples razed to the ground. using the stones from them to pave the new plaza. Early bullfights were held here, as well as public executions of prisoners, and a gallows was here. Emperor Maximilian had trees planted here to make it a park, but the trees were removed and it was paved over in 1956. Mexico City's cathedral holds the distinction of being the oldest and largest church in Latin America. The first church on the site was constructed only a couple years after the conquest in 1525, using stones torn from one of the temples, but the present structure was begun in 1573 to provide Mexico City with a cathedral more suited to its wealth and status as the jewel of the Spanish Empire. The building incorporates three architectural styles: Renaissance, Baroque, and Neoclassic. In 1967, a fire caused by an electrical short circuit caused extensive damage to the cathedral. Restoration in the 70s and 80s led to the discovery of a copy of the 1529 nomination of Cortés as Governor General of New Spain. The cathedral's chief artistic treasure is the 18th century altar of the kings behind the main altar. 14 richly decorated chapels line the two sides of the building. The cathedral has been cleaned and is light and airy. This is the Palacio Nacional, the National Palace. Mexico's president works here. Montezuma, or Moctezuma's houses, were located here. It has been rebuilt several times. The first building in 1529 as Cortez's headquarters. The central entrance is under the Independence Bell, with which Miguel Hidalgo announced the start of the war for independence from Spain in 1810. It is rung every September 15th at 11 p.m. on Independence Eve. There are 14 courtyards and some small cactus and flower gardens. The main attraction is the Diego Rivera murals painted between 1929 and 51 that depict Mexican civilization from the arrival of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god, to the post-revolutionary period. Diego Rivera's murals were painted over a 25-year period, most in the 1930s. The murals don't go all the way around because he died before finishing it. Here you see the Spanish hanging and branding the natives, as well as using them as slaves. Here you see Los Voladores, the flying men, which you will see in reality tomorrow if they are performing. The Juarez Museum contains rooms in which he actually lived, his personal belongings, correspondence with Abraham Lincoln, etc. While at the Zócalo, we'll also visit the Templo Mayor and the Museum of the Temple. In 1978, workmen accidentally discovered an Aztec votive stone rivaling the Piedra del Sol, the Sunstone, which led to major excavations. They ended up discovering the Templo Mayor, the most important religious structure in Tenochtitlan. It was, in fact, two temples on a gigantic base, one dedicated to Tlaloc, the rain god, and one to Huitzilopochtli, god of war. Construction of the first temple began sometime after 1325, and it was rebuilt 6 times. The temple was destroyed by the Spanish in 1521 to make way for the new cathedral. This model shows what it looked like before the Spanish destroyed it. The Templo Mayor Museum was inaugurated in 1987. This building was designed to exhibit the archaeological findings of the zone that used to be the main temple. The museum traces a history of the Aztecs from Aztlan to the conquest. This monolith, discovered in 1978, enabled the archaeologists to find the exact place where the pyramid stood. We've seen a lot of things today, so it's time to head back to the hotel. But on the way, we have one more stop. The Church of Jesus of Nazareth. This is the spot where Cortés allegedly met Moctezuma, or Montezuma. In 1562, Martín Cortés, the son of Hernán Cortés, gave permission to have his father's remains brought from Spain to New Spain. He died in 1547 in Seville. His remains rested a while in the Church of San Francisco before the final resting place here. Cortez's remains are in the wall opposite the main altar behind a bronze plaque engraved with his name, coat of arms, date of birth, and date of death. And this is a painting of Cortez. There is also a mural here by Orozco called The Apocalypse, depicting the horrors of World War II. For dinner tonight, we don't have to go far, just a block away. Here. It's called El Danubio, which means the Danube River. It is well known for its seafood, but they have other items as well if you don't like seafood. And if you like seafood, I recommend you start with their shrimp cocktail. It is bigger than you'd expect and has avocado mixed in. It's fantastic. After dinner, we will head back to the hotel, maybe relax at the hotel restaurant with a few beers, and so ends day 3.